what is this Delhi Declaration? ऐसा समझ लो, this is what was the outcome document. As in, Delhi Declaration was a document in which all the countries agreed to some things, or there was a consensus on a few things. So this particular declaration is called Delhi Declaration. The very first idea that was adopted was with regards to Ukraine-Russia conflict, or Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now I'm assuming all of you are aware. Can we take notes? Can we put up the first heading, Delhi Declaration? Delhi Declaration. You can call it bracket में the outcome document. The outcome document. Delhi Declaration, the outcome document. First one is Russia-Ukraine conflict. What was decided about the Russia-Ukraine conflict? So all the G20 nations gave a common verdict. They said, see, all the countries of the world should respect the UN Charter. Since all of us are part of United Nations, we should all agree by the UN Charter. Now, UN Charter is nothing but the guidelines that UN has for all the member countries. जहाँ क्या लिखा हुआ होता है? That what is our agenda? Our agenda is peace and security. So basically, it was a way to hint towards Russia that you should not be using any kind of violent methods while dealing with Ukraine, and this entire issue should now be pacified. See, the entire world is interested in this issue being pacified. Very simple, because this impacts the trade of global supply chain. It impacts how nations trade with each other, and it impacts how people trade their goods from one place to another. So of course, all the countries of the world are interested in its pacification. Now, one thing is for sure, this Delhi Declaration does not mean anything in real world. So this does not mean there is something concrete happening. This is only for some, what can you say? It can be everybody coming together and deciding कि अब हम ऐसा करेंगे. But of course, it does not translate anything into reality. But for your exam purposes, you might be asked what were the important outcomes of Delhi Declaration. And that is why I'm giving you these pointers. So point number one, you can write, all states argued that we must work according to UN Charter, and no country should use threat, to seek territorial acquisition, A very important line came up, and you can put it in inverted commas. Today's era must not be of war. A highly debated statement came out. Today's era must not be of war. How ironic. Today's era must not be of war. Why am I calling it ironic? Even though all these countries are coming together and talking about that this era, it is actually an era of war. So this can be a good debatable topic for in case they want to give you something like this in your essay papers also. I mean, right now, of course, they're focusing more on philosophy, but this can be one of the war and peace philosophies. Today's era must not be of war. Why do I call it ironic? जितने भी multilateral meetings होती हैं, be it of UN, be it of G20, all countries talk about peace. But still, peace is very elusive. You don't find peace anywhere. So you see Russia-Ukraine conflict, it's still going on. It has not died out. Or even if you talk about the present Israel-Palestine conflict, it's an ongoing conflict. It is not dead. It's not over. So my point in here is, when the world talks about peace, why is peace so elusive? This also brings up to the question, do you think all these multilateral forums are talk shops? बहुत सारी बातें, but nothing translating into ground realities. Also because most of these agreements are non-binding. There is no real punishment mechanism in case you don't follow the verdict of UN. The least people can do is to impose sanctions on you. And that too also depend on what kind of bilateral relations you have with this country. So can you imagine in today's arena, would there ever be a sanction by US on, let's say, Israel? Would US ever put a sanction on Israel? No, that is not going to happen. So even though UN might come up with n number of proposals to stop the Israel-Palestine war, but it's not going to happen unless and until either Israel wants to do it or the world puts enough pressure on Israel. So I want you to think about this topic and give me some concrete points tomorrow. This is your homework. The topic is very simple. You have to just argue on this. Today's era must not be of war. You have to give me arguments for and you have to give me arguments against. So do you agree with this? And if yes, why? If not, why? Can we do this? Pretty simple. 5 points each ways. You can take a note. The topic would be today's era must not be of war. So my point is, okay, this is idealistic, but have we been able to reach there? No. If no, then why? You have to give me certain arguments. Will we be able to do it, everyone? बात समझ में आई, बोलना क्या चाह रही हूँ? बहुत सुंदर शब्द है कि there should not be war in today's era. But is it only restricted to the meetings and the declarations, or do you really see it in the global order happening? And if you're not seeing that, why is there this difference between what people say or what international institutions come up with, but it does not translate into realities? Are we here? Are we together? बात समझ आ रही है? बोलो तो सही. All right. Takes point number 2. Global economic situations. Global economic situations. Countries agreed to two common goals. Two common goals. Reducing inequalities. Countries agreed to two common goals. One was reducing inequalities. All right, enough and more has been talked about it. Reducing inequalities and maintaining macroeconomic and financial stability. Important pointers: reducing inequalities and macroeconomic and financial stability. Again, why would we want stability? Any instability translates into instability for the world. Remember the background of G20? It was based on, yaad hai na, economic crisis. You remember? We started there. So the primary agenda was actually economic. And then it was highlighted that what we need to ensure that the macroeconomic and financial stability of the world is maintained. Because again, we know that any instability will translate into instability for the world. Are we together, everyone? All right. Then the third aspect was about trade. So one thing that was highlighted, listen to me very carefully, by developing countries was there is still a huge imbalance in trade. And what do you mean by imbalance? The profit or the proceeds of trade relations between countries still benefit the developed countries more than the developing countries. So tell me, is G20 a forum where both of these are coming together? Developed and the developing countries? Mazhar, are you here? Are you getting my point? Are you sure? Is there a problem? Okay. So the idea was the developing countries were arguing that there should be more trade balance. Now, what do you mean by trade balance? That there should be a profitable trade for the developing countries as well. So take note. There was an agreement with regards to ensuring fair trade balance. Ensuring fair trade balance. Comma. It was argued that we must identify potential trade risk and build resilience. Next was a decision on food and energy security. So this was pretty simple. G20 member nations decided that our priority for the coming years should be focused on both food and energy security. And you know it why. These are two critical areas on the world which the world is on fighting mode for both food security and energy security. Take a note. The declaration emphasized the importance of ensuring both food and energy security. Both food and energy security.